Well, hey there. BT here. Welcome to BT's Corner. I got a little bit to say today, and for the last few weeks or so, as you all know, we've been going through something of a combined national crisis. We have an election coming up. We are dealing with a pandemic from a virus that originated in China and made its way here before anybody knew it. And of course, we're also dealing with the aftermath of the brutal murder of a unarmed black man in Minneapolis, Minnesota, at the hands of the law enforcement authorities there. Now, I'm not going to talk specifically about that event. There's plenty of that going on. A lot of other people are talking about it. But in the aftermath, we're experiencing a lot of American soul searching and wondering just exactly what our country is all about. And it has brought to mind, to me anyway, something about going back to the First Amendment. And the reason the First Amendment came up is the First Amendment talks about the right to, of course, the right to free speech and freedom of religion and freedom of the press. But one of the things in the First Amendment is also the right to peaceably assemble for redress of grievances to the government. That can mean the federal government, it can mean the state government, it can mean local government. And the reason that's important right now is because we have a lot of people who are attempting to protest and peaceably assemble for redress of their grievances. And rightfully so. We've got some real grievances going on here. Well, the reason this came to mind is because many years ago, I want to start, we'll call it a war story. But as many of you know, I served for a great length of time in the military here in the United States. And as a young lieutenant stationed in Germany many, many years ago, as a matter of fact, I was stationed there at the time that the Berlin Wall fell and the two countries, West Germany and East Germany, reunited into what we know as Germany today. Well, I was a young lieutenant in the Army, military police corps at the time. And before I go any further, let me just tell you that I've had many mentors and trainers and leaders that I've worked with and worked for in my many years in the military, and very few of them stand out. The ones that stand out were ones that were either just absolutely terrible or, as in the case of the gentleman I'm about to mention, truly outstanding and made a long-lasting impact not only on my career, but on my life. And so anyway, I'm a young lieutenant in Germany. The year is 1989. We have just finished an exercise called Reforger, which is short for Return of Forces to Germany. This is the exercise that the United States would go through with our allies in NATO every year, practicing for if the Soviet Union, which still existed at the time, ever decided to reinvade Western Europe, how we would go about as the United States and NATO in defending Europe from the clutches of the evil Soviet Union. We had finished that exercise. It was September 1989. We were doing our after action report, which is where all of the officers on the staff gathered. We went over the things that went well for us during the exercise and the things that did not. When the meeting was over, our battalion commander asked some of us younger junior officers to stay behind. He wanted to chat with us, get to know us a little better. And I will never forget this when, he asked, went around the table, we all talked about things, and he had this little wry smile on his face, and he said, you all are just being nice and you're afraid to say anything. And of course, us young lieutenants kind of looked around and, well, he's a lieutenant colonel. Why would we say anything that might inspire his wrath or his ire? Well, what he said to us, and to me, looking me right in the eye when he said it, he says, I want you to always remember, disagreement is not disrespect. And I got to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that little quotation right there, and I don't know if he heard it from somewhere else or if it was his own words, but that gentleman said, disagreement is not disrespect. What he meant by that, and he explained it to us, is we were free to voice our opinions on things, to say, hey, sir, I disagree with this, and here's why. As long as we were respectful about it, he appreciated it because he admitted he didn't always have all the answers or know the right way to do things or how to go about things. He was a fantastic leader. I enjoyed working for him for the entire 2 years he was there. And I have an immense amount of respect for him to this day. For the record, his name is Herbert Tillery. He was a lieutenant colonel. He retired as a full colonel from the Army many years ago. He's a great guy, but I owe him that quotation. It has stuck with me through my life, and here we are some 31 years later, if my math is correct. And I still remember that, and I try to live by that. Disagreement is not disrespect. Disrespect is disrespect. And I think in America, we've lost a great deal of the ability to understand the difference between the two. We can disagree with each other. As long as we do it respectfully, I think we're much more prone to listen to an opposing point of view. It's when the condescension and the arrogance and the sarcasm and the name-calling starts, and I have been guilty of every single one of those. And to people who I've done that to, I sincerely apologize. I am trying to get better and not do that again. But when we can disagree with each other respectfully, I think we can have a better dialogue. Which brings me to the deeper point that I want to make. We're going through, again, convulsions here in America. And once again, kneeling in the presence of the flag. And this started with the NFL and a former quarterback by the name of Colin Kaepernick. Kneeling during the national anthem is once again one of those things that's getting everybody riled up, because it looks like that practice is going to come back in a great deal higher numbers than it used to be. The NFL forbade the practice for a while. It looks like they're going to allow it. Now, I got to tell you, as a retiree from the military, somebody kneeling during the national anthem and in the presence of the flag, I got to tell you, personally, I really, really do not like that. Not one little bit. It bugs me on a deep level. That said, I understand completely the sentiment behind it. I don't agree with the action taken, but I agree with the sentiment. We've also had discussions in years past about passing a constitutional amendment that would make burning the flag of the United States in protest a crime, whether it would be a misdemeanor or a felony. And I got to tell you, I have been 100% opposed to that since the first time I ever heard it. I can think of nothing more un-American, deeply un-American, than making a crime out of an act of political protest or political speech. And burning the flag is a form of protest. While it's dangerous, because we're talking about open flames, if you're doing it as a manner of protest, then it is protected political speech. I swore an oath to defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and everything the Constitution stands for. I swore that oath as an enlisted man, and I swore it again when I took my oath of office to become an officer in the Army. So I'd be an awful damned hypocrite if I decided that I wasn't going to support someone's right to protest peacefully, peaceably, in their chosen manner, by taking a knee during the playing of the national anthem or in the presence of the flag. Again, I don't like it. I disagree with that. But again, disagreement is not disrespect. I respect what people who do that are trying to do. And here's a quotation. It is attributed to Voltaire, the great French philosopher from the 18th century. Voltaire never actually said it. It was attributed to him in a biography written about him by a woman by the name of Evelyn Beatrice Hall. And she wrote that in a book called The Friends of Voltaire, which was published in 1906, about 140 years after Voltaire's passing. But the quotation attributed to Voltaire is this: "I disapprove of what you say, but I will defend to the death your right to say it." That is the essence of the First Amendment to the Constitution of the United States. I may disagree with you vehemently to my very core, but I will defend your right to say that or do that. Again, long as nobody's getting hurt and no property is being damaged, we don't have a crime here. So again, while I disagree with taking a knee during the national anthem, if I was on the field I will never be on a football field for playing football, I guarantee you that. But if I was on the field and some athletes during the national anthem took a knee, again, I wouldn't like it, but I'll stand right next to them, right behind them, right with them. I will stand and defend their right to do that. They have their reasons for kneeling. I have mine for standing. Their reasons for kneeling and mine for standing are remarkably similar. They're kneeling because there are some terrible inequities and inequalities and some terrible social and cultural changes or problems that we need to address and change here in the United States. There really are. And that's why they kneel. I, on the other hand, choose to stand because what that flag represents, what the national anthem represents, are the ideals spelled out in the Constitution. Now, I'll admit, we have fallen short of achieving those ideals and the noble ideas and goals in the Constitution. As a country, we have fallen way short, terribly short. And nobody is more conscious of that than I am. Yet I stand for the potential we have to constantly address those grievances, those problems, and make changes. They're slow in coming, way too slow in many, many cases, but they are slow in coming. We're still making progress. And I've been to a great deal of other countries around the world, and I'll tell you, we still have it better than all of the rest of them. We really, really do. I'm not putting other countries down. They have wonderful things about them. But here in the United States, I think we've got about the best of everything. Are we perfect? Not. I like to say we're approaching perfection from a great distance, but we are approaching perfection and we're doing our best. And right now we're going through a particularly tumultuous time in making some of those long needed and necessary changes. So I'm getting long-winded here. I'm coming up on 12 minutes. I try to keep these shorter than that. Thank you for tuning in. Thanks for coming by. To Herb Tillery, I know you're out there. You might see this. Sir, again, thank you for that quote. Disagreement is not disrespect. That could not be more apt and apropos to today's climate and today's cultural upheavals that we're going through. Have a wonderful day, everybody. This is BT from BT's Corner signing off. We'll see you again next time.